I'm a product of a kid who's raised out in the oil field, who was a decent track athlete and football player and got a chance to go get educated back on the East Coast and wind up first in a job at the U.S. Naval War College doing China and Russia related research. My name is Gabriel Collins. I'm the Baker Botts Fellow for Energy and Environmental Regulatory Affairs, and I work here in the Center for Energy Studies at the Baker Institute. I went to law school and I came down to practice at a big firm here in Houston, and then shortly after that became involved with the Baker Institute, which is the best professional decision I've ever made. I grew up out in the oil patch. I was born in Midland. I grew up there in Artesia, New Mexico. And so it was something that I was always around. But also, when you think about the intersection between economics, commodities, and security, if you would have asked me when I was a teenager, a 10-year-old or something, I wouldn't have articulated it in those terms. But if you looked at my bookshelf, you would have actually seen a lot of those things. I've always found them interesting, and I just didn't know at that point that you could actually make a living doing these things. And, you know, to my great happiness, I discovered later that you could, and that's why I'm here. The original entry to Eurasia, and maybe Princeton wouldn't have admitted me as an undergrad if they knew this, but I knew I wouldn't be able to fulfill the language requirement by testing out based on what I had done before, and I knew I'd have to study a foreign language there, and so I ended up choosing Chinese. If you would have asked me 2 weeks into that, I would have said it's the worst decision of my life, but I ended up figuring it out, got to go spend time in China studying. And once we had the chance to do our junior and senior independent research work, I was able to really delve into a number of China and Asia related energy topics, and things just kind of launched from there. These are issues that affect the whole of society at the end of the day. And so one of the things that I do is I'll go deeply into the data and completely nerd out, but where you'll see the litigator in me come out is I want to present it in the same kind of terms that I would use if I were talking to a jury of people who are all very intelligent but aren't deeply familiar with these issues. I have to be able to make a compelling and persuasive pitch to them as to why this matters and what we might think about doing about it. Water is probably the most intensely legally governed commodity that we deal with, and so it's very important. And maybe the best of all is you get to use the skill set, but you're not tied to a billable hour clock, and that makes life much more fun. I actually have a project going on right now where we're working with the Texas 2036 Foundation to examine what the potential economic consequences are of underinvestment in water infrastructure here in Texas, and what some of the impacts could be if we don't ensure our water resilience and steady supplies moving forward as the state continues to grow. We want to do things that are relevant and have policy impact, and we've seen this happen, whether it's some of the China energy work, whether it's some of the Taiwan work we've done recently, as well as some other projects, for instance, Chinese investment in Mexico that we have ongoing right now. But basically what you're balancing is you want it to be something that you find fun and intrinsically interesting, because that'll drive you to do harder work and better work. But at the end of the day, you want it to have policy impact.